Hi everyone, and welcome back to Cooking in Pink Boots. Now let's start off with a layer of that rich and flavorful roux-based tomato gravy to bed that fluffy long grain rice and catfish that had been coated in some Louisiana fish fry and seasoned with all that mouth-watering Cajun spices and fried to perfection, then covered in a blanket of more of that delicious wholesome tomato gravy and topped with some roasted peppers and cherry tomatoes. And now finally garnished with some lemon wedges and fresh scallions. Now, if you're wondering what all this goodness is right before your very eyes, it's Louisiana's fried catfish sauce piquant. A bit dramatic, you think? Well, after having a taste of this dish, you'll see I was not being overly dramatic at all. Yep, first bite of this fried catfish sauce piquant will have you making the sound. Trust me now. Come on. Now I'm starting by dicing 2 ribs of celery, a half of a large red and green bell pepper, a third of a cup of cherry tomatoes, or use whatever fresh tomatoes you have on hand. Just be sure to dice them. 1 yellow onion, and now mincing 5 cloves of garlic, chopping 2 green onions, and about 1/4 of a cup of fresh Italian parsley. And now that I have all my veggies chopped and ready to go for my sauce piquant, I'm going to separate from it about 2 tablespoons each of the diced red and green bell peppers and the cherry tomatoes for an earthy roasted topping. Now, this is just another little twist of mine that I included that I kind of felt brightened up the dish just a bit more, although it's delicious all on its own. Now, just quartering 1 lemon, and now setting all that to the side while I bring in the bacon. And this is going to add a delicious smoky flavor to my dish. But honestly, it was my second choice after being informed of a heavily spiced smoked Cajun ham called tasso, or tasso, if I'm pronouncing it right. Anyways, I did some research on it, and while doing so, I could almost taste it. But unfortunately, I could not find it in any of my local markets, and shipping was going to be a bit of a wait. But nevertheless, this worked out great. So, after having chopped my bacon into small pieces, I'm cooking it down in a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And once all that fat is rendered, I'm going to remove all the pieces, reserving it for a side salad or something, if my husband does not eat them all. Now, placing the bacon fat back into the pan, which by the way was measured at 1/4 of a cup, and adding to it 1/4 of a cup of extra virgin olive oil, making a total of 1/2 cup of oil in my pan. And if you have not figured it out by now, I am about to create a roux. Now, I have seen many videos where this dish was made with some using a roux base, while others just added flour as their thickening agent. But personally, I love the toasty flavor a roux brings to gravy dishes like gumbo and etouffee, so I was sure I was going to appreciate it in this dish as well, and I did. Alright, as soon as my oil heated, I added 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, continuously stirring it in, cooking on medium heat till I got a medium brown peanut butter-like tone. Then, adding in my onions, celery, and bell peppers, remembering to reserve about 2 tablespoons each of the bell peppers and cherry tomatoes for that roasted topping. And I'm going to continue cooking my veggies down until they become slightly tender, then adding in that garlic, cooking for an additional minute. Alright, now adding 1 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste, and 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. Then cooking that down, stirring for a couple of minutes. And now adding in 3.5 cups of my homemade chicken stock. And you can certainly use chicken broth or water with a couple cubes of chicken bouillon. And if perhaps you prefer a thinner gravy, you can always add more liquid, although I'd wait till after the simmering process. Okay, I wasn't sure if I'd be breaking all the rules here, but I went in and added about 3/4 of a teaspoon of Louisiana crawfish, shrimp, and crab boil seasoning. And like I said, this is my first time ever even tasting this. But I'll tell you what, I'm not sorry at all that I had added it. It added so much flavor, turned out great. But keep in mind, a little goes a long way. All right, now seasoning to taste with some Tony's Creole seasoning, salt, black pepper, and because the crawfish seasoning and Tony's is pretty spicy, I only added about 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes just for flavor. Then squeezing in about a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice and a couple pinches of lemon zest. Then mixing all that up and giving it a taste. And all I felt it needed was about a tablespoon of sugar. Not enough to sweeten the dish, but enough to break through all that acid and spice, bringing it to the perfect balance. All right, now adding in my freshly diced tomatoes, remembering to reserve a tablespoon for roasting, and now just covering it up and allowing it to simmer for about an hour or so when my veggies have just about become one with the sauce. Okay, now while all that's happening, I'm going to get started with that roasted topping. And on a lined pan, I'm laying out all that reserved veggies, my red and green bell peppers and tomatoes, drizzling over some olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, then seasoning to taste with salt and pepper. Baking at 375 degrees, just till slightly roasted with a bit of a char. And that'll take just a few minutes, so be sure to check on it every couple minutes. Now, let's take a look at that sauce piquant. After 1 hour of simmering, I gave it a stir and a taste for any needed seasonings, and it came out perfect. Now I see this is a very flexible, forgiving dish, so if at this point it turns out it's a bit under seasoned, well then add more seasonings to your taste. And if it has reduced down, leaving your sauce too thick, add more stock, broth, or water, adding a little at a time while on medium to medium-high heat till it reaches your preferred consistency. And once all that is to your liking, just add in those 2 last ingredients, the chopped parsley and green onions. Just be sure to reserve a little of each to top your final dish because this will add a great fresh flavor that'll tie it all together. Now, moving my finished sauce to the back and preparing to fry down that catfish. Now here, I'm adding some vegetable oil, about 1 inch up, on my pan and seasoning my catfish fillets with nothing but Tony's Creole seasoning on both sides. Then covering my fillets in some Louisiana seasoned fish fry, then frying till golden brown and reaching an internal temperature of 145 degrees. And be sure to have a wired rack ready to place them on so they keep that crispy texture. Now, just reheating my sauce right before plating, and just look how velvety smooth. This sauce came out to be so rich in flavor. You're probably thinking, with all that tomatoes and spices, it'll be an acid bomb. But nope, nowhere near. With that broth, lemon, and sugar, it made a perfect smooth balance in flavors. It's absolutely delicious. And I seriously can't wait to have it all over again. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this video of my Louisiana's Fried Catfish Sauce Piquant. And I also hope you give it a try, and when you do, enjoy. And please don't forget to like and subscribe for more upcoming food adventures with me, Charlene, from right here in my kitchen, where every day I'm cooking things. With her, of course. Bye.
Bye.